Coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket is got. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your check. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just drop. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
FantasyFling for your Week 7 cash lineup review. So wanted to start with the lineup that I used this past week to cash and cash games. This was a single entry $5 double up. By the way, if you are struggling in cash games, a couple things you want to look at. You want to make sure that you are doing single entry, not mass multi-entry, because you will get to lots of pros in those cash double ups, and the cash line will be much more difficult to hit because it'll be a lot higher. So, for example, I cashed here and the cash line, not exactly sure what it was. 125 points, 120 points, pretty low scoring week, as we saw 113 points in cash. So somewhere between 113, 132, but in mass multi-entry, it would be whatever the cash line is in single entry. So let's say it was 117. Well, it'd probably be like 128 in mass multi-entry. So just keep that in mind. And then also make sure you are playing head-to-heads as a combination. So even if you have a bad week and you miss the cash lineup in, 50-50 and double ups, you may have someone who did worse than you. So you could still, get a combination of head-to-heads. Make sure you limit your opponent to one person so that you get a portfolio where you're going against a lot of different people and you get a chance to go against people who had a worse week than you. So you definitely want to have a combination of 50-50 head-to-heads and double ups. So this was my cash lineup, and I kind of went back and forth on this all week. Thought about playing Geno and cash, but really I just think the floor wasn't there. And with this game environment, it really just made sense, I think, to go with the best quarterback on the slate in Patrick Mahomes. And it certainly paid off. I did have Kelsey, even though he was the chalk at tight end. But nonetheless, I had enough pieces in my cash lineup that I was able to hit that cash line, 132 points. So I had Patrick Mahomes. And, really what it came down to was I wanted Mahomes and I wanted Kupp and I wanted Kenneth Walker. But I was really struggling to get those three guys in and, not punts for some guys that are aren't getting enough targets. So I wanted Marquise Brown, who is 5,300, who's getting a lot of targets. I wanted Zay Flowers, who is 5,700. I feel like he's mispriced. He's really good. And even going down to Wan'Dale Robinson, who had been getting quite a few targets at 3,800, and Luke Musgrave going against Denver, who is poor against covering the tight end, just a poor overall defense. I still wasn't able to sneak in Cooper Kupp and Kenneth Walker without having to go a little bit less than where I wanted to. So I really wanted to fit Jerome Ford into this lineup as well, but I just didn't have the salary relief. So what I did was, once I saw that Johnson Foreman had creeped up the chalkboard at 4,800, I liked that. The fact that he was over 10%. And, this is something that we preach a lot, the chalkboard, playing players in cash games who get lots of ownership, who are in good matchups, as Johnson Foreman was, with Roschon Johnson out, going against the Raiders D, at home, having a good run, just being on a good run team. So I like Johnson Foreman. And once his ownership got to the point where it was, top 10, I was certainly comfortable playing him at 4,800, coming off Jerome Ford, who was a great play too. But as far as, just kind of looking at lineups over players, I really felt comfortable with my lineup having Mahomes, Walker, and Cooper Cup. That I felt with these three guys, I had enough floor and ceiling that I would get there. And that's exactly what happened. Even though Cooper Cup had the worst week you will see from Cooper Cup probably all year with only 6 points, Mahomes scored 37. Kenneth Walker scored 16. So right there, I had over 50 points. And then Donta Foreman smashed. So it was really happy with the way this lineup came together, even when, the duds like Cooper Cup dudded. And this is something to keep in mind in your cash games. You want to see guys who are high owned. So when Cooper Cup is 45% owned and fails, well, almost half the field played him. So it didn't really hurt you that much. The same thing with Marquise Brown. He only scored 7 points. He's 5,300, but 40% of the field played him. So that's just something to keep in mind. And even though Patrick Mahomes was 9% owned, he was, I think, at the second highest quarterback, which, for quarterback, that's pretty good. Now, one thing I just want to go over real quick is kind of mistakes you don't want to make in your cash line. So you see this lineup scored 113 points. And I'm guessing the cash line was right above here. So overall, this lineup looks good, right? We have Kenneth Walker. He's chalk. Jerome Ford, a lot of chalk. Lockett, 26%, who was a good play with DK Metcalf out. Great play. Zay Flowers. Drake London, that's kind of where it starts to get a little iffy for me. You got Mark Andrews. So what they did, and you paid up a tight end, totally worked out here, 22 points. And you got Marquise Brown, and then you paid up at defense. So a couple of mistakes that stand out to me. Mark Andrews, typically you don't want to pay up at tight end. Mark Andrews, though, was underpriced in a great spot, so I'm not going to fault him for playing him. He actually was kind of chalk for tight end, so I think that was a good play. But you paid up at defense. This is exactly why you don't pay up at defense. It's high variance. You get the Bills, who are a good team, going against a poor Patriots team led by Mac Jones, who's been a turnover machine. You paid $4,200 and you only got 2 points. So defense, save paying up a defense for tournaments. Don't do it in cash games. So this was mistake number one. This was probably the biggest mistake that costed this lineup. And then, really the other big mistake that I see is you played a contrarian Desmond Ridder. So he was less than 1% owned. And you don't want to take that kind of risk in cash games. Save that for tournaments. Cash games, you want to eat good chalk. You're trying to beat half of the field. You want high volume players who project well. So, just a couple of mistakes overall. This was a good lineup, basically in the middle, right? You kind of got, this is your meat. This is a burger. It's good here. I don't know what happened with the buns. I really don't. The buns have mold on them. Desmond Ridder and Bills D. So you don't want to do that. Overall, though, it was a pretty good lineup. Just kind of point out some mistakes you want to avoid. And also shout out to Thomas DY, DFS Army VIP. Tons of respect to Thomas because Thomas always DMs me. He always asks for advice on his cash lineup. And, most these days, I just want to say, looks great. You're doing great. So, I hardly have any advice to give to him. So this was the lineup he rolled out. He beat me in cash. So if we went head to head, he would beat me. So he had Patrick Mahomes, Kenneth Walker. And you know what he did was he utilized the late swap. I'm guessing he didn't have JSN until the news broke. And then he put JSN in. So kudos to him. I just love my lineup the way it was because I was drinking in sportsbook, sweating a parlay. Patrick Mahomes, Kenneth Walker, Jamar Gibbs. So chalk, you see, these are all chalk. Cooper Cup, like I said, great play. In fact, in the contest that he was in, he was 63% owned, so even higher owned than the contest I was in. So the fact that he only got 6 points, more than half the field played him. So only 37% didn't. Marquise Brown, he was chalk. Wan'Dale Robinson. So this was a great looking cash lineup. 136 points. Shout out to Thomas DY. And if you're a DFS Army VIP, this is something you have access to. This helps Thomas and countless other people cash. We do cheat sheets for cash. We have a lot of them. I specifically focus on cash, but we got a lot of sharp people. They have cash cheat sheets as well. And I do a cash VIP breakdown each and every week, and also your chalkboard. So you will see. Overall, these are players that I consider in cash based on the matchup, based on their floor, based on just chalk at the safety net of playing the chalk, good chalk. So Mahomes, Geno Smith, like I said, Geno Smith, as you'll see, he was the highest on quarterback. So I felt like he was actually pretty safe in cash this week. But I preferred Mahomes in the spot. Same thing, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs, Isaiah Pacheco, and Jerome Ford. I really liked Walker, Pacheco and Ford. These were guys that I was more so considering playing in cash. And then once I saw that Donta Foreman had creeped up the chalkboard on Sunday morning, this was a guy that I was willing to play so that I can fit in, like I said, Patrick Mahomes, Kenneth Walker, and Cooper Kupp. So I think Cooper Kupp was in a much better spot than both Stephon Diggs and Keenan Allen. He just didn't get there. Puka Nacua got the volume, got the yards. So that's just how it goes sometimes. But nonetheless, he was still a great play at process over results in this situation. Zay Flowers, Marquise Brown, Josh Palmer, these were all guys that are getting a lot of volume and projected well. So Josh Palmer was the best of the group in this game. And then, like I said, Kelsey, Andrews, and Musgrave, if you watch the Millie Maker review, these are the guys that all DFS pros were on. These are the guys that all DFS Army was on because these were guys that projected really well. And we liked the matchups this week and just the volume they've been seeing. And then, pay down. I think, I think we just looked at Thomas's lineup. I closed it, but I think he had Ravens D. So pay down at defense. Again, that is something you notice. I did not have the Bills on my cash sheet because when I said mistakes that you want to make, you want to look for pay down options. Top fantasy points per dollar plays. This is something you have also as a DFS Army VIP in the Domination Station. Use code FantasyFling for 10% off a VIP subscription. By the way, if you like this kind of content, hit that like button. Let me know who you played in cash, how it worked out for you. Let me know what you scored in your cash lineup. And then this is a chalkboard. Like I said, these are the plays that's pretty well spelled out for you most weeks. The Patrick Mahomes, the Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jerome Ford, Donta Foreman. These typically are going to be your best plays. Keenan Allen, Zay Flowers, Kupp, most weeks, Stephon Diggs, Marquise Brown, so Puka Nacua. These are guys that certainly smash. Kelsey, Luke Musgrave, and Mark Andrews. This is something you all get as a DFS Army VIP. It's, really these tools that make the difference between cashing or not. So thank you for joining me. I think that's going to wrap it up for week 7 cash lineup review. Best of luck this next week. We will see for those who are the VIPs. I will have my cash video out, the cash game strategy VIP only on Friday. So keep a lookout for that. For the rest of y'all, we will see you next Monday for another lineup review.